if you're a true entrepreneur, you will never sit idle until your last breath. I feel that's what true entrepreneur is. And I can't sit on the beach for more than 30 minutes. I would say. I need something to keep myself busy and do something more.
Welcome back to R4E, the Reason for Everything podcast. I'm your host, Arjan, and today's guest is Pratik Thakker. We got connected through my dad, Brett, and a couple of his mutual connections. Really excited for today's conversation and really just to get to know you a little bit more, Pratik. So we had an initial conversation 2 or 3 weeks ago. From there, I dove into you and your background and was just blown away. To tee it up for the audience, you've got over 250,000 followers across platforms. Right now, you're the founder and CEO of Insidea, but you've been a multiple-time entrepreneur and startup founder. You are on the Times 40 Under 40 list, a 2 times TEDx speaker, and voted Israel's #1 LinkedIn influencer, among many other accolades and recognitions. That's my own resume reading of Pratik, but I'd love to give you a chance to introduce yourself to my audience and share a little bit more about who you are outside of the incredible accomplishments you've had so far.
That's very kind of you, Arjun, and sharing this great introduction. Really appreciate it. I'm so glad that we were able to meet and part of your podcast. So thanks for inviting me, first of all. In terms of introduction, again, my story is of aspiring entrepreneur since childhood. Wore like many different hats initially, try a lot of things, and again, it's part of the journey of being an entrepreneur. But again, what I learned in early days of my college, that you need to work for someone in order to be better at business. So again, that's the path that I chose, and for doing that, I chose Israel as my country, uh, because again, Middle East is like a region where Israel shines as a startup ecosystem. And because of my wife, I was able to move there and work with some of the greatest companies in the world right now. So again, this journey taught me a lot of good things about startup ecosystem that I implemented in my business journey, that has resulted into huge success, I would say. Again, a lot of things requires persistence, and consistency, with the same, it's kind of the same thing, but again, if you do something with discipline, that's what really matters. Again, all of the awards, recognitions are part of the journey. Sometimes you have challenges, but again, it feels good when you are recognized for doing something. uh, Although I never uh, imagined that I will have following on LinkedIn. That was not part of the plan, although part of the plan was to build a business where I can contribute to my customers journey and help them somehow with my skills and abilities. So that's the only intention I had with business or anything that I'm doing right in my career. So when I was working full time in an organization, always thinking that that organization is my own, and like kind of helping them grow. So it kind of comes back. And a lot of my customers now are the companies that I've previously worked full time with. So they are now my customers. So again, people love working with people who really care about their business.
Certainly. One of my previous guests, David Meltzer, talks about building an ecosystem of people that create value for each other and their customers and buyers and sellers for life from each other. And I think there's so much to be said about that. And I want to dive in more about your journey in your business today. Before we do that, let's rewind. So were you born in India or where were you born?
Yeah, I was born and brought up in Mumbai.
Okay.
Uh, when I was 22, I moved to Israel. So yeah, majority of my life is in India, and still right now we're doing this podcast from India because again, situation in Israel is a bit challenging. So I decided to work from here, so that I can bit focus more on not being in a stressful situation mentally. Uh, but yeah, India is like outstanding place to have this kind of like people in your company. So almost 70% of our workforce right now is in India. Rest are based out of Philippines, Israel, some in US. So basically, we are a global company. So that's why connection with India is like kind of very strong.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Now, born in India, at 22, you moved to Israel. Between then, growing up, we probably had very similar and very different upbringing. So, what was that? What was it like going? What was school like for you? What was childhood like? Were you always in that entrepreneurial spirit, the common kind of American example is? Were you the kid that had a lemonade stand on the corner when you were growing up and asking people to come and buy lemonade, or what's the equivalent of that for you in your childhood?
That's a really good question, actually. So I remember when I was like 12, and that was like kind of my first venture, or maybe a startup, I would say, as a young kid who like kind of got inspired by his father and uncle and all of the people who were around me. They were doing business, right? So I'm kind of in a family from business owners or traders. I did like start a stall of firecrackers during Diwali festival. So in Diwali, you get like 1 month off in your school. So it's like kind of a vacation, summer vacation kind of thing. And during that time, like, I had my friend partner with me. I said, like, if you like help me with this, at the end of the day, whatever we will make, we'll share the profits. And also we will, whatever is left out, we can just like, use it for ourselves. And he agreed. So that was like my startup thing. Then eventually I did like pickles and other things that I remember. So yeah, it's something similar like selling a lemonade.
I don't know for sure, but I don't imagine trying to sell pickles in the U.S. would be as lucrative of a business as Girl
In
Scout
India,
cookies.
pickle is like different. It's not like the pickles that we eat in like cucumber or like
Yeah,
olive
yeah.
pickle. It's very different. If you Google like Indian pickles, you will see it's a curry in itself. And it's very very popular, right? Everyone loves it with their lunch or dinner.
Yeah.
They eat it with their main meal. So it's like a huge business here in India, and my father is still in that business, by the way.
Interesting. Okay. So your dad was in that business. Is that the same one that your uncle was working with too, or is that a different
Yes, yes.
venture?
So my father and my uncle are both in spices and pickles business, and they're doing it for over 40 years, I think. So my father came to Mumbai from Gujarat. It's like a different state with nothing, basically. He was, I think, in eighth grade, and he was in boarding school for 2 years, and then he started as like worker for 2 years, and then he started his own business. So again, inspiring journey when you see people doing the same thing. I went to Israel, I worked for a few years, and then I started my own business.
Did you ever want to follow in your father and uncle's footsteps and get into the spices industry, or was it always getting into tech and outsourcing?
So my father taught me one thing is you have to be like dynamic, and you need to also understand what the world wants. During that time, like food was like kind of very good business to be in, but as we grew up, we saw like technology was uh, more dominant, and everyone was adaptable towards computers when I was there in like 10th or 11th grade. So my father wanted me to like learn more about computers, learn more about like business management. So once I started like going to university, I felt this is what I want to go in. Like I feel technology is something that can change lives. And also I remember I was following Bill Gates back then. He was the one like kind of brought revolution and gave computer technology to the world, basically through Microsoft, right? So again, I think that's why I chose to be more on the tech side of things. But again, I
Interesting.
don't deny. Now I want to do everything. I don't know. I feel like I want to be part of any or every business who makes revenue.
I feel like that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship, and you see this time and time again with uh, you know influencers, celebrities, entrepreneurs, people that have built something, created something. I talk about creators a bunch, but at a certain scale, at a certain point, you can kind of get back to being a child and doing whatever it is that you want to do because you have so many avenues, so many channels, so many vehicles from an outreach perspective and getting in touch with the right people to doing whatever. You see all these jokes online about, Shaq, the famous basketball player. He's a DJ now just because you know what? He just felt like it and he had the resources and the network to go and just pick it up overnight and become a world class DJ. Some would say so. It's
It's
pretty
quite
interesting.
funny what you're saying, and it's true because once you have that base money, where you like are not relying to go on a job to earn that living, and you have that extra money to do that things that you felt like it's a good idea, it can bring more revenue, so it gives you more freedom to think, innovate, create, or recruit more people to do something which is of your hobby or interest. So
Mhm.
for example, we recently are launching another brand, which is of my interest. I always wanted to do. I wanted to do like more on the e-commerce side and gifting space. So we started that. Again, once you have that kind of flexibility, team and revenue and money, that can help you start going in different directions.
You're like your own venture capitalist, investing in yourself time and time again at this point.
Yes, yes, and also like all of this small scale business doesn't require a lot of revenue or a lot of funding, and revenue comes once you start and you have your team. And Insidea company is like kind of a base of everything, right? So the resources I have here can be utilized for the multiple business that I'm running, and most of the things that we are doing is digital. So again, it's kind of utilizing the resources I have for the multiple businesses.
Now you mentioned the beauty of building your own nest egg and having money to do what you want to do your hobbies or whatever it is. What are some of the hobbies that you enjoy doing? Again, trying to wrap my head and my audience's head around what's
it
day to day life like as
it's
a
fu-
as an entrepreneur in Israel from India.
it's funny to say this. I'm like, although I'm 33 years old, but I'm still like, I feel I have a child in me that always wanted to like, whenever I have free time. So I go to like a mall. There are game zones, coin operated or now card operated machines that I can play games with, and that's one of my hobbies. And like, I enjoy. That's my stress reliever. Even my wife enjoys it. My brother enjoys it. We literally are spending 4 or 5 hours sometimes in the weekend just playing different things. So again, doing that digitally and creating that experience. We have a brand called Lala, which is coming up soon, that we're launching. That will actually create memories, entertainment. Also, that will be in gifting space. So yeah, that's something that I love to do from the beginning, and I feel this will make me happy.
So is this like arcade games you're saying? Like you go and
Yeah,
you put
ar-
yeah.
arcade games. Then there are like toy that you can pull off, and there are bowling and a lot of other stuff that you have today. Also in India, there's like quite popular, which is cricket. So they have their own arena that you can like host cricketing games and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So which is getting quite popular. And yeah, my interest is like fully to invest a lot of time and money so that I can build a business on that front as well.
That's awesome. My last question, and you started to tee it up for me here. So I have my guests pick a walk up song in American baseball before the player steps up to the mound. They have on the jumbotron and in the sound system. They have a song that the players get to pick to play over the speaker to get them excited and hyped up for the game. Are you familiar with that at all, or no?
Yeah, I am.
Do they have anything like that in cricket? And if not, I think
So
I, go
there's
ahead.
something that I want to play for you.
Yeah,
So this
please.
is my theme music, and whenever like I feel that I want energy, So this is what I listen to, and maybe it will be like 10 seconds. So this music is Insidea brand music, and the message behind this is like freedom and energy. Again, I think when I am doing some event like a webinar where there are hundreds of people, to ease down the energy, we start with this music and some then later on the intro, which gives such an amazing vibe to the audience. I think that
Totally.
was something you were referring to, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly. Is there a name for that song?
I don't know. I got it from somewhere, but now I call it as Inside a theme music. But I
Oh, I
can
can.
send you the author of it. Probably it can be royalty free music, so it can be used as well.
That's awesome. So perfect segue then. So that song gets you hyped up and excited as you're getting ready for the Insidia day to day. Let's get the audience up to speed. So you moved to Israel at 22. What was the first venture you started there? And then get us up to speed to Insidia today and how you got to building this business.
It's funny story. I didn't even realize that I created this company that I never imagined that I would. Because sometimes it's always that you need to start somewhere and automatically you find your way out. So I was working with companies as an employee, but later on I started consulting on the side and was doing general marketing consulting, right? And one of the customers that I was working with, he said that they want to do outsourcing because it's cheaper to hire talent in India compared to Israel. Boom! I think that was like aha moment for me to find my niche that I always wanted. And I said, like, I have a unique position. There are very, very few Indians in Israel, in specifically tech ecosystem. It's very uncommon place for Indians to go. And Israel is like place of startups. There's hundreds and thousands of startups there. So I said, like, why I can position myself into outsourcing. So I asked my sister if she can quit her job and start with this first job that we got for this company. And it started, and since then, like we were into outsourcing space. We were helping companies do the placements, and also on top of it, we were helping Israeli companies connect with bigger B2B brands who were looking for Israeli technologies. So we did like mostly connections or building bridge between India and Israel, and that was my first venture in Israel.
That's crazy. Okay, so I want to take a sidebar here. So you have a brother and a sister. Is it just you three, or do you have other siblings?
No, just three of us.
And then where are you? Are you the oldest child, middle child, youngest?
I'm the oldest one.
Okay. I'm the middle child of three. I have an older brother, younger sister. So I wasn't sure. So you
Either
have your
you have
sister.
to be the eldest or youngest.
What did you say?
Either you have to be the eldest or youngest.
Yeah, exactly. So you get your sister to quit her job.
Yeah,
Obviously, that's a
she's
you
the
know
middle one. Yeah, and she was working as a sales executive in an firm called Crisil. I remember, and it's an enterprise here in India, quite popular. I think in consulting space, if I'm not wrong. And she had that experience that can help the customer that I was serving. So again, it was a 10 minutes interview because she was my sister. It was an easy sale. The customer knew the relationship I had with him for years, and again, that was like easy sell for us to get started. Again, because the Israeli community is so small, it's like word of mouth. If you are able to prove the value that you can give to company, I think the word spreads very fast, and that's what it helped us gain more customers in the coming years. But again, outsourcing was new world to me back then. So again, invested a lot of time and energy in terms of learning and finding the best talent that I could for the companies. But additionally, I co-founded another startup named Teslify, which was into talent assessment space. It's like an AI platform that helps companies identify the best talent through assessments. Again, that was like kind of a big learning curve in terms of understanding the market on the other side. So there is something that companies require, but there is also something that talent expects. So again, understanding the both side of market was a crucial thing. I got an exit from there last year, and this year we started Insidea in January. And I think this year has been the best year of my life, because all of the hard work that we did in last 5 6 years has kind of given us a fruit. And we started with like 4 people in January. Now we are 75 plus, serving in 10 plus countries. Yeah, it's like a pretty amazing feeling, having this success. The major part of like Insidea was born in my mind when I was in Israel after 2 years. Okay, and it's very interesting story why Insidea was like my brainchild, and I always wanted to do this very passionately because Pratik moved from Mumbai to Israel. There are a lot of Pratiks who go out of India in search of their career growth. Okay, and they have to leave a lot of things behind: their country, family, where they belong, their friends, and everything. And they are in a country where they never visited before, so it's their first time. And again, trust me, Indian culture in the West is totally opposite. So I was like basically in depression for 2 years, feeling homesick, had anxiety attacks. So again, I didn't want anyone else to have that feeling, and like you can have the same kind of freedom wherever you are, and you can still be successful. So I had this vision of creating that borderless world, where one person can work for any global company in the world. So again, I think my intention, or my how do I say, imagination of like building this company led me to outsourcing and build this company. I think you have your law of attraction that guides you towards what you exactly want in life.
Got law of attraction right back here on the bookshelf. So
I'm,
totally.
I'm a very firm believer, like, since childhood. My mom also remembers, and still she reminds me sometimes when I'm like having like a weekend dinner with her. So she said, like, I remember you used to post cars, you used to put like, pictures of like, this is the type of house you want to live in. And I see that you have completed those. So it feels really good when you dreamed of something and now you have it. And I think it's more of like reminding your brain that you exactly what you want, and it works.
What are you dreaming about right now? What's on your vision board on your post-it notes nowadays?
My So firstly, I want to build a company of 1,000 people in next probably 500 days. Uh,
Why
so
500 days? What's
so it's been like 500 days because I feel by end of like 2026, uh, I vision that Insidia will be like X valuation. Okay, I don't want to disclose right now because it's not a concrete number, but still I want to be X valuation. And in order to do that, I have certain calculation that if I reach this team member size and will have X number of revenue, then probably I can build a company that can be ready for stock market in India. So I can list my company.
awesome? Now, you know,
So only thing that I'm thinking right now, which will like give me new high,
yeah,
is having Insider listed in like stock market.
that's awesome.
I
Now,
wish like this conversation we can go back after 2 years and said, oh, this is what we discussed.
I'm gonna clip this with the picture with the video of you ringing the bell on the Indian stock market in 2 years. Okay.
That's
Now, let
that's
me
the
ask this. So, most entrepreneurs and creators, builders have the dream of an exit, but I feel like there's a bit of instinct that doesn't let people just sit still. I feel like there's a lot of there's the term serial entrepreneur for a reason, because as soon as you wrap up one project, you get into the next. Do you ever see yourself, having a grand exit from Insidea and then sitting on a beach somewhere with with food
If
and
you're
drinks.
a true entrepreneur, you will never like sit idle until your last breath. That's I feel that's what true entrepreneur is, in my definition. Okay, maybe it's something else for other people. And I can't sit on the beach for more than 30 minutes. I would say. I need something to keep myself busy and do something more interesting. So even though in Cydia we have an exit, which I'm not sure I will easily, but again, always have a dream of building multiple businesses, not one, and not just creating that wealth. Now, money is not something that motivates me enough now, because I have it, right. I have what I want. Whatever I want to buy, I can buy. Now it's more about creating that brand, creating jobs for people, uh, and that's the intention.
What would you say is the biggest challenge right now for you at Insidea? That's maybe taking. How could you? What's a 500 days plan to get you to where you want to be? What's holding you back from doing it sooner?
I'll tell you my weakness and also how we are fixing it. So every business has its own challenges, because Insidia has seen this growth in last 1 year without any funding and completely bootstrapped. So definitely there will be turbulence, right? But again, to deal with that turbulence, I always believe in power of mentorship. So people who have done it before can help you take the business to the next level. So I'm not that familiar with raising funds, or going to multiple investors and pitching my business. I never done that regularly, although I consulted companies for building a brand or do marketing. But this is not me. I always believed in spending my money to build something, which is in more my control, without having to do more on the management side or bureaucracy side of handling questions and objection and rejections. But I would love to do that now. I feel if you want to grow, that you want smarter people in your team. So I'm gonna we are already in conversation of hiring or recruiting advisors to the management, so that they can guide us to the right path in each and every different areas. Right? We have operations, then we need investor relations. How do we position our brands? Where we exactly want to go? So there's one more thing which is related to my bigger goal, which is how do we make ourselves ready for stock market. If I have a long-term vision, we need to keep our books clean. We have to make sure that we have our due diligence done right. So all of this stuff plays important role. So if you have a bigger goal, you break it down, you put things right now in motion, so that they will help you guide through that bigger goal.
You mentioned mentors. That was on my list of things to talk to you about. Obviously, your father and uncle are entrepreneurs. Do you have a specific person that you look up to in times of challenge, or just when you have questions, you have a personal board of directors or an
I think
individual you go
that's
to?
that's the power of that's the power of LinkedIn. I'll tell you. So last 5 years, I have met probably over, I don't know, more than 500, 1,000 people on video calls, and some of them have direct access to my WhatsApp, and we are really good friends now. Now I know this person is really good in sales development, or he's really good in uh, working with pitch decks, for example. He's very good with leadership coaching. So again, helping each other in the network. So I just uh, so there's one thing that I do usually is I have all of my network. They are part of my close group, so they hear from me regardless if I need something from them or not. So they hear from me once in a month. I also ensure that I remember their birthdays or anniversaries, so that I can send them something. So whenever I need them for a question, even it doesn't sound that I need something. It's just kind of a relationship that you're creating. Just you have a wife or you have parents, you are always in touch with them. And so that are my mentors as well. So again, you learn from each other. But there are special people who are like my business coaches that I work with. So there are three of them, and one of my close friend, I will name him specifically. His name is JT. So he's like he already got one exit. He's in CEO of another startup in Silicon Valley. The brand name is Enops. Again, really successful company already. They are into cloud cost optimization, specifically to AWS. So he's my go-to person for any business mentorship. If I'm stuck somewhere, like, hey, what do you think? What should I do, man? So that's the kind of relationship we have.
I love it. Exactly what I was looking to get from you there. And I think sound advice all the way around. How about, so you've had 500 to 1,000 conversations with folks that you've met on LinkedIn. Who is a business or personal mentor or person that you would want to, maybe not mentor, personal or professional person that you'd want to get in touch with to either be a mentor or get into your network that you haven't been able to get in touch with yet? I know you mentioned Bill Gates was an inspiration for you early on, but who would you want to be able to sit across the table from, have on your WhatsApp to ask questions anytime?
I think there are many, actually. There are so many amazing people out there who I really want to connect with. But when I look at, like, successful entrepreneurs, so for me, an entrepreneur is not somebody just like, having one or two startups or got an exit, but real, like, inspiration for me is two legends from India. One is like Dhirubhai Ambani, which is like son of Dhirubhai Ambani, Mukesh Ambani. He is probably the richest man in India. Uh, Also, maybe top 10 or 20 in like billionaire list. He has multiple businesses. He's doing everything, right? He owns so many businesses. Probably he won't even remember. And there's one more, Adani Group. He's also like kind of into multiple businesses. And there is one more guy, and they were industrialists before, Ratan Tata, if you know Tata Group. So these three personalities are more of like my choice of go-to in terms of business side of things, when they have a mindset of not just doing one thing, but they have an capability of opening multiple ventures and making it a successful brand out of that. So yeah, I would love to have them on my speed dial.
All right. Well, Adani Group, Tata, if you guys are listening, you know who to reach out to next. Let me ask you this, Pretty. So you have Insidea going, like you said, you like the entrepreneurs and folks who have multiple ventures going. You talked about Lala and your next ventures that you're going to get started as well. You obviously have a lot on your plate. How do you balance spending time with your wife, spending time with your family? It's a hot topic, and I'm sure you see it on your LinkedIn every day about work-life balance and all of that that's going on today. How do
If
you
you
balance
want,
your ventures and all of that?
if you want work-life balance, then entrepreneurship isn't for you. uh, uh, but when you say, like, balancing out, so when I'm working and when I'm having like an hour or 2 hours break on my calendar, uh, so firstly I just go for a walk with my wife, but currently I'm with my family here in India. So tomorrow we are going for a short picnic, one night stay outside, outside Mumbai. Again, it's like disconnecting regularly rather than going on a bigger vacation. But how do I balance it is mostly like, taking meetings with stakeholders in the company. So again, there are smart people that you hire, and they are the ones who drive the things that you and they discuss on specific front. uh, Again, my one of my weakness when I was starting out business was not understanding how to leverage or delegate things. That uh, that thing, like, improved ongoingly, because again, that was my weakness. So I took it very seriously, got a lot of mentorship from business coaches on how to do this correctly, and now I feel I have more bandwidth because I know how I can delegate or how I can trust the other party to do things that I need. And also for opening different ventures that I have, I'm not the one who's going to drive it, right? So for example, I'm opening X business. I won't own 100%. I'll give a piece of company to the person that I feel that he's more suitable of running and driving it. Based on the success, here's your percentage that will increase in the company. In that way, they will be motivated enough to drive it without my involvement so much. I'll give all of the resources that they need to be successful.
Very interesting. I like that model too, and to your point, it's a good incentive structure as well. Let me
Yeah,
ask you.
I
Go ahead,
think
please.
there's one more thing that I'll add about entrepreneurship. So my life looks like I'm mostly on my laptop. So when I wake up, I'm opening my emails. Before I sleep, I'm checking my emails. And between, like, I enjoy my work. It's like kind of a drug to me. I don't feel bored. Sometimes you feel frustrated, you're tired, but you're never bored. You want to, like, do stuff. So it's like kind of depends whether you like a lifestyle which is 9 to 5, or whether you are, like, kind of 24/7 person, and whatever comes in your way you'll just hit a home run. And so that's what entrepreneurship looks like. But still, I do take some time out. I love to travel. There are times in last 10 years I've lived in Thailand for a few months, and other places in Europe and US, worked remotely. So I love to enjoy with my wife going out and traveling as well and working.
Very good. And to put it in perspective to anyone listening right now, it's about noon Eastern time. What is it? 11 o'clock in India right now.
Yes, that's not 10.
10 o'clock. So Pratik's not just talking the talk; he's walking the walk here, and loves to work. But I feel the same way. I mean, I wake up and I'm excited to check my email and see what's going on, both for my day job and for the podcast, and totally resonate with that. Now, I want to ask, where in the U.S. did you live?
New York specifically, and I traveled a lot to Vegas because of the conferences that I used to attend for the
Yeah,
work. So I was working in, like, Israeli startups, and because most of the conferences are in Vegas, so I had to travel a lot during that time. Although I enjoyed my time, sometimes New York gets too cold, but otherwise it's fine. I have a lot of friends in New York too, uh, and now customers as well.
there you go. Now, as we round out here, I have two questions for you. You mentioned the conferences oriented around Israeli startups. What's something that people don't understand about Israel that someone like yourself who, immigrated over there and is living over there mostly full time, what's something that the average listener wouldn't understand about Israel that you'd want them to know?
Look, I can say this because I'm not, like, religiously connected to Israel, because my religion is Hinduism. But although I'm non-religious, uh, but going as an Indian, okay, in Israel, I never felt like I was treated badly or anything else. Again, I was in an ulpan. My wife is Jewish, but I was in an ulpan. Ulpan is like kind of a boarding school, where you get chance to learn Hebrew for 6 months, and at the same time you can, like, settle down. They give you stipends to keep you going for 6 months and find the job. So I was the first one to find a job in whole 200, 300 people. And I was the first one to go out of Ulpan, although I didn't learn Hebrew, which was not something that I was interested in. I was interested in, like, finding work opportunities. That's why I was able to get the job faster. But it's more like, Israel is a country which has balance. Also, people there are. It's like mixed between West and the East. Uh, so there's a balance. There's one beautiful thing that I learned about Israel that people don't understand when they are, like, on their career journey. So in Israelis are, like, work hard, play hard culture, specifically in startup system. Uh, so they know how when to disconnect and enjoy really well, and also work hard at the same time. So the journey of life is not like something that you will regret. So you have enjoyed your life, you made money, your family is happy. So there's like a perfect balance between all together. So that's what I explained before, right? That's how I like to live my life. If I'm bored, I just travel somewhere. I'll work remotely and I'll be in Thailand on the beach drinking coconut and also working at the same time. But that's also fun, right? But I'm not compromising one thing for another. I'm doing in balance.
Mm.
And something that, like, media has a perception of Israel. What I've personally seen on ground, Israel is wants to have peace. They always wanted to have peace. They would never ever go and attack first. If you, like, if you get attacked, let's say if somebody attacks your house, probably you will come and defend itself, right? So that's the kind of thing that I saw. I missed one bus when I was in Jerusalem, and probably I've never shared that online. So I was in Ulpan, and I was going to a bank. So I forgot my wallet. So I went back to my room to get that wallet. When I came back, I missed a bus by an inch. Okay. So in next stop, there was a terrorist attack in the bus, and there were a few people in the bus killed. And me and my wife were like kind of very lucky to skip that, like, miss that bus basically. But that's the kind of like environment I also saw. So it's stressful for the public, but I think both sides are like kind of looking for peace, and somehow, like, I don't know how we can achieve that. Well, that's my perspective.
I mean,
I feel bad for
that's
both sides that are suffering uh, in this war.
of course. No, I mean, to double click that story about forgetting your wallet is inspirational for what I like to talk about on this show, right? Think about it, God forbid you would have remembered your wallet that day when you had gone to the bank. Different out. We
I
probably wouldn't
wouldn't
be
even
talking.
remember. My wife told, "Where's your wallet?" Because in wallet there is like a bus card that you would need inside. So I was so.
Well, think about the circumstances that have to happen. Like, I mean, that's why I like to talk about R3 reason for everything. There's so many stories like that for that, and unfortunately, but there are a lot more that end fortunately. You ended up taking a turn and meeting someone that became your best friend for life or whatever
Oh
else. But
yes, there are so many things. There was one interesting story about, like, Allison.com, which is like a CEO. He was coming to Israel. He posted something on LinkedIn, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Allison.com. Allison.com is like a free learning platform, has over 20-30 million users. They are our customers now. But how the story started, which is very interesting and uncommon. So I just messaged him, "Hey, I see that you wrote that you're traveling to Israel. I don't know, like, I'm really fan of like what you're doing. It's quite interesting. You're providing free education. I would just like, meet. I would like to meet you for 5 minutes over a coffee." Uh, and he responded. Uh, he was on a family vacation in Israel. He took that time for 30 minutes. Then I worked voluntarily for that company for 6 months. And now they're like, our clients for the last 6 years. And that relationship, and they invited me and my wife to Ireland afterwards. And that relationship gives you more opportunities. Think about if I didn't message that guy that day, probably I won't have that relationship. I won't have that customer. So yeah, it's sometimes there are a lot of cases in my life that I felt, thank you, I did that.
hidden blessings, man, it's unbelievable. Let me ask you last question as we round out here. What is something about India that people maybe in the West or anywhere else don't understand that you'd want them to know?
Oh my God, India is so developed now. It blew my mind when I'm here for last 2 months, or 1.5 month approximately. Uh, I didn't even see like payment systems so strong in Israel even, or in US.
Really?
People are paying by their phone with, like, payment gateway, so easy. And, like, imagine the population here. It's not 100% educated or knows English or knows how to use tech, and they are still, like, very capable of doing that. If I order a grocery, it will arrive at my doorstep in 7 minutes. That's where India has reached today. Uh, so the connection, the network, the ecosystem, technology wise, it's next level, man. I'm personally blown away by the growth that India is seeing in last, like, 2 3 years. And probably I would give a lot of credit to the government we have today. Huge reputation that we build in global ecosystem. India was able to position themselves as a leader in a lot of different space. So sometimes like feel proud to be, like, part of this community. And again, I think India has a lot of edge over, like, it's the biggest democracy in the world. China is like has the, I think maybe now we also bypass China with population. So probably what growth China has seen along the years in manufacturing, it's coming back to India now. So all good things.
Good, good. Well, I think I'm very appreciative of your time. I know you're a busy guy integrating many companies together and working, you know, around the clock at 10 plus in the evening over in India right now. But for those who are unfamiliar with you before this episode, who know you now and want to follow you, stay up to date with what you're up to and Insidea, where can they find you on social media and beyond?
I think the best place for you is to reach me on LinkedIn, because I personally check the messages and ensure everyone gets response by me. That's something to get in touch with me. But if you want to learn more about Insidea, you can visit insider.com, where you will learn more about how we can help you or your company bring your ideas to life through talents that we have vetted and trained, so that they can create any impossible task that you felt you cannot do it yourself.
Unbelievable. Well, Pratik, grateful for your time.
Thank you,
Excited
man.
to catch you again soon, and thanks for joining R4E today.
Thank you, Arjun.